Hello, my name is Angelica Farias, and I focused on this book, Full House, An Invitation to Fractions, by Dale Ann Dodds, illustrated by Abby Carter for my children's literature lesson plan. Here you can see that I chose third grade, and the lesson title is Full House, and the length of the lesson is 2 hours. For the content standards and content objectives, here I have for subject standards, understand a fraction 1 over b as a quantity formed by one part when a whole is partitioned into b equal parts. Understand a fraction a over b as a quantity formed by a parts of size 1 over b. Another standard is explain equivalence of fractions in special cases and compare fractions by reasoning about their size. The goal of the unit is students will use different strategies to understand and explain and compare fractions. The objective of the lesson, students will be able to identify and explain fractions, how fractions are formed while using manipulatives by the end of the lesson. Here, under multiple intelligence addressed, I will address students will be using hands-on material. Students will show examples on the board and are able to see pictures in the book, Full House. Students will be able to read a book and will be exposed to a verbal presentation. Students will be placed in groups where they can collaborate with each other, and students will also have an opportunity to work alone. As for assessment, the teacher can ask the students to draw a house or building and make a fraction like in the book. They will color in the windows when the rooms are being used. They will do this on a whiteboard, and they will be able to show it to the teacher, and this is how she can assess if they're understanding the concept. Strategies to meet diversified learners. Students that are struggling will be able to have one-on-one time with the teacher. If the teacher is not successful, a student who has understood the lesson will be asked to explain and show the struggling student. Sometimes it's good to have another student explain it. They might explain it in their own words in a manner that the other student can understand. Materials that will be used will be the book, Full House, individual whiteboards, foam fraction manipulative, paper, pencils, fraction dice, and domino pieces. At the beginning of the lesson, the teacher will start a fraction lesson by showing the students the wedges of an orange. I will ask the students to count all the wedges. Once they are done, I will remove one wedge at a time and use an appropriate term. Students will learn the terms such as numerator and denominator and where they go. Students will be given an easy way to remember the terms. Numerator starts with NU, so never under, and denominator starts with a D, which will be the word down, and this will be a guide as to where the numbers go. The rationale for this, the teacher will use visual elements to show the students what the numbers of a fraction represents. Students will also be provided with tips on how to remember the terminology. Once they've started, the teacher will start by reading the book Full House, and as I read the book, I will show them how to represent a fraction using the foam circle manipulative. Next, students will be given individual whiteboards to draw the fraction written on the board. I will also draw pictures on the board, and the students will have to write the fraction. Students will then be asked to get into groups to play a game. The game will consist of a fraction die and will take turns to roll it. On whichever fraction it lands, the group will have to use the fraction foam circles to show that fraction. The teacher should walk around to informally assess the students as they play. Now the students will also work together in groups to find the missing numerator and explain their answer. During this time, if there are any struggling students, the teacher can pull them out and explain to them what a fraction is one-on-one. Each group will be given 5 examples of a written fraction missing a numerator and the pie chart or cubes to go with it. Students will write the answers on their whiteboard. The rationale for this instruction, the students will be introduced to the foam fraction manipulative and will be shown several examples on how it is used. The manipulative can help the students understand the concept and help it become more concrete. Once shown several examples, the students can use their whiteboards to show if they have grasped the concept, allowing the students to either write the fraction or the manipulative to assess if they have truly understood. The students will then play a game in groups where they can collaborate and strengthen each other's knowledge. So this will be ending, this instruction will be finishing. Now that the students are understanding fractions, each student will have to use domino pieces to find equivalent fractions to have and explain why the fraction is equivalent. The rationale for this activity will be done individually and requires students to use prior knowledge. Students will have to think of how they will explain their answer. This leads to deeper thinking and understanding.